a lot of Charger people really didn't, get the story, bro. I found out that I was going to Denver over Twitter. My phone started buzzing. I'm like, bro, what the hell going on? And then I see Melvin Gordon signing with the Denver Broncos. I'm like, bro, what the hell?
You go play Nebraska, you have 400 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. You know, going into that week that you're going to have success.
I knew I was going to have a game. That week I worked so hard. Something came out, I wasn't even the top 25 players in that era. At that time, to be the second most rushing yards in NCAA history, the most yards per carry, and to get no love, I'm just like, maybe it's because I went to Wisconsin, you know what I mean?
What do you feel like is your best Phil talking shit story on the field?
He was letting the play clock go down. He knew he wasn't going to call nothing. And it was just like 5-6 players. He just started, and you did this and that. And you like telling them about this and what you don't do and how you this bad and how you bad at this and how you bad at that. Phil used to just say anything.
Well, in my office, bro, I got some old ass Ben Hogan's. How do you feel you would go out and actually hit this thing and use it?
Be a shit show out there. I go out there and use that. I can't even use the clubs good that they gave me now.
We're living in the good old days. Take a look around. Ain't it funny how feels like we're in the good old days. Go and grab a cup, go and fill it up. Cheers to living in the good.
Welcome to Glory Daze, presented to you guys as always by PrizePicks. In 2014, the guy on the pod today led the NCAA in rushing yards and touchdowns, on his way to a Doak Walker and a selection as a Heisman finalist. In the NFL, he was a 2-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champ. He's a Badger legend and a key member of the Vibez Golf Club. We love a golfer. Melvin Gordon, how we living, brother?
Talk me up, Johnny. Talk me up, then. Yeah.
Welcome, my G. Welcome, my G. It's nice to have, 2014 is a long time ago, but
yeah, man.
2012 is even longer. So we finally are realizing as we do more of this stuff and I speak to guys, we're kind of unks now.
Facts. Facts. We definitely unks, man. They was calling me that when I was still in the league, man. They was calling OG. I'm like, bro, hey, chill, bro.
Let's talk a little bit about running backs. We're starting to see some of these running backs get lucrative contracts again. ETN, Kenneth Walker, both signed big deals. You said a few years back it was, the worst position to play in the NFL because they sign you to a rookie deal, they squeeze out every bit of your rookie deal they can, or they franchise tag you and pay you for one and don't give you any security, and then they move on to the next and find another young running back that's going to come in and be on a cheap contract.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of that's kind of how the game goes at that position. It is still one of the worst, but fortunately for them, the NFL is getting more money, so they have to, by nature, pay them a little bit more. If you look at it in retrospect, what they're making compared to the receivers and DNs, it's really still not that much. I mean, those guys are really getting life-changing money. You know what I mean? Just really FU money, and we're not getting that, but it's a step in the right direction. You can't be ungrateful. You know what I mean? So I'm happy that them boys are getting the contracts they deserve because you could end up empty-handed and with nothing. So.
Yeah, I mean, this was highly discussed whenever Odell went on a podcast and was saying, $100 million isn't as much money as you think it would be. And that sends an uproar to people who have never made millions, who work every day, a lot of hours every week to go make $60, $70, $80, $100,000 a year. But, when you look at this, Saquon, 20.6 average, Christian McCaffrey, 19. Then it drops down to Derrick Henry at 15, Kamara at 12.25, Jonathan Taylor, 14, Josh Jacobs, 12. For Saquon, that's really maybe seeing less than $10 million cash. Same thing for Christian McCaffrey, probably about 9. Henry, probably about 7. Kamara, probably about 6. I mean, as great money as it is, you also don't see the longevity in the contracts, 4 years, $48 million. We're watching defensive ends sign huge deals. And then that's something else to note on here too is, Genty, rookies, the contracts are getting so big now that his deal is 4 years at $35.9 million. And, that puts him right below the top 5 guys in the league as a rookie.
Give it to him. He needed it all. Give it to him.
For real. I look back now, in my year coming out in 2014, the first pick got about 24 million, and now you're seeing the first pick almost get back up to like the $60 million range again. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and if it continues to balloon up, because then before you know it, it'll be back to how it was before, where you could be a first round pick and top 5 pick and you're getting $50, $60, $70 million straight out of school.
Yeah, I mean, shit, fuck it, bro. Like, it's a hard game, bro. They earn that, and we don't need people to be hating, bro. The money going up every year. You know what I'm saying, with different networks and stuff, and let them boys eat, man. And we get they eating in college and all that, bro. But you know what I'm saying, like, bro, let them feed their families, dog. Like, it's a hard game. It takes such a toll on your body. The stuff that you have to deal with after you done playing, man. You
I mean,
know,
you dealt with this a little bit too, right? In
yeah,
2019, you
hell
sit out the
yeah.
first 3 games of the season hoping for a new deal. How was that experience for you and, how it changes things between you and the team, and also it probably changes your perspective a little bit on football as well as a whole.
Bro, my situation was it was fucked up, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Just a lot of Charger people really didn't, get the story. Just with my whole ordeal, bro, I found out that, my contract, I was going to Denver over Twitter. I never got to choose, really, and I guess in a sense I got to choose, but I didn't. And my agent them, I and granted them, my agent them were really good, bro. They were they were some good agents, bro. I think it was just some miscommunication, and it's my fault. Is I have to take accountability in my own actions. They told me to do some things to get the contract. They told me to make some decisions beforehand before we got put in that position that I didn't make. And that's on me. I put myself in a tough position. It was just a lot going on in life with everything. And it was just a hard decision to make. But, I'm on the phone with Vaughn. I'm talking to Denver. I'm on the phone with Vaughn, just trying to see the best situation. And I'm on the phone with LaShawn McCoy. Um, as I'm on the phone with LaShawn McCoy, I'm thinking that, it was a 1-year deal to Buffalo. And obviously that deal was better than the 2-year deal just with my age. And as I'm talking to, LaShawn McCoy on the phone, my phone start buzzing. I'm like, bro, what the hell going on? Uh, and then I see Melvin Gordon signing with the Denver Broncos. I'm like, bro, what the hell? I'm like, oh shit, like, so I called my agent, like, bro, like, what happened? Like, damn, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought, Buffalo was in the thing or whatever. He like, man, someone signed this morning or something. So, the deal's off the table. You got Denver or you have Seattle for 5. So I guess he had just told him I signed. I don't know what the case was, but I just remember just I was in Florida at the time. It was during the COVID stuff. I remember just crying and just being like, damn, like, I spent my whole 20 years just to, lose everything, my whole opportunity, my dream of signing this lucrative, contract, um, gone in the span of 3 days. Everything I've worked hard for just gone like that. And so I had to get in the media and act as if, and a lot of the Bronco guys know this, Philip Lindsay know this, because I was really confused with that too. I'm like, why is me and Philip Lindsay was just at the Pro Bowl. Like, I don't understand this. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And it's just, I had to get in the media and act as if like, I wanted to, go against the Chargers. And then my agent then was told too that, that if Austin Eckler had signed, that they wouldn't sign me back. Cause I told him at one point, I'm like, bro, I just want to go back to the Chargers. Like, I don't really care what the deal is. Like, just talk to him, and it just, I think with that, with my agents, it was just some miscommunications because I had 2 different agents. But I still, to this day, I think they were both great agents. You know what I'm saying? I think, like I said, if I would have listened to them, bro, from the beginning, I wouldn't have put myself in that position. But, my grandma had passed away. I was having relationship issues. I got to a point to where no player should feel like, to where you only feel like you have your team. And, you know, it wasn't about the money. Everybody thought it was about everybody thought, well, it was, they offered you 11 a years. I was more so pushing for the years. You know what I mean? And to this day, I was super close with Tom Telesco. He was the GM at the time. And today I still regret not just texting him and just being like, hey, bro, let's just work this out. Like, let's figure this out. And then we leaving it up to somebody else. And bro, that shit just that killed me. So my whole time in Denver was just really it was bad because I felt like I never made the decision to go there. I was just kind of forced to go there in a sense. And you're not forced to go anywhere, right? But just financially, that's just what made the best sense. And it was just like, bro, how did I get here? So, I appreciate Coach Mockins and some of the teammates because, bro, I was depressed there, dog. I was so depressed. The game became, I never played football to prove anything to anybody. I played the game to have fun with it, bro. That's why I enjoyed it. That's where I played my best football. And because of the situation I was put in, it went to trying to prove to people that, you know, that I can make this right, proving to myself, even though this situation was the fucking worst, that I can make the best of it. And then the expectations, it just kind of drained on me, bro. Denver is not an easy place to play either. And especially me coming from the same division with the Chargers, getting drafted there, and then coming there. Like, bro, I didn't even know how to hate the Chargers at that point. I was to the point where you couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to retire a Charger, dog. So my whole experience was ass, bro. It's just, the Chargers really didn't know the story. So they hated me. Denver hated me. So I was trying to prove everything to the world, dog, and it became too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, you still had 2 really good years in Denver you
Yeah.
scored 17 touchdowns in the first 2 years of that deal, 986 the first, 918 the second. So, I mean, you're super productive still there. And look, things go that way in football, right? Sometimes life overshadows football and what it was. I know I had to take an offseason off between my first and my second year to go try and get myself right to be able to put myself in a position to play football. What's up, guys? PrizePicks is America's #1 sports pick app. The app is really easy to use. For player picks, it's simple. Pick more or less on a few player stats and lock it in your lineup. That's it. PrizePicks is available in most states, including the big ones, California, Texas, and Florida, and they have team picks now too, where you can pick the winner, spread, and total of any major game. And it's tourney time. Baseball is back, and the NBA playoffs are a couple weeks away. There's no better time to make team picks than right now in April. We had some amazing games so far. Here are my picks for the 2 big games on Saturday. In that Illinois-UConn game, give me Illinois. I know UConn's coming off a crazy win, probably give them some momentum, but I'm going to go with Illinois to make it to the finals. And for the game of the week, Michigan, Arizona, I'm going to roll with U of A. Michigan, no offense to them, I think they've had an unbelievable season. I think this will be the best game that we see out of these two. But if you guys want to follow me, you can even follow me on the app at Johnny Manziel. Just use code Johnny and get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5. That's pretty simple. PrizePicks, code JOHNNY. Download the app now and go make your picks. It's that simple. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. You have one of the greatest seasons ever for a college running back in 2014.
Yeah.
Almost 2,600 yards, 32 total touchdowns. I mean, we were only playing 12, 13 games at that point back then, if at the max, So when you average that out to what it is of touchdowns per game, yards per game, it's insane. You still always think about yourself in that way because you know what you've done at such a high level. And to not be able to get that opportunity in Denver, like all the time, you're splitting reps, you're doing things, you're struggling with stuff. Like, it makes it really, really tough. As you look back now, what was that moment in time like for you for that great college run and having that season?
Yeah.
It almost feels like surreal for a little bit as you're going off and doing those kind of things and making those kind of numbers.
Bro, honestly, bro, it was some of the best times, bro. It was just about football, bro. Like, honestly, like, when I just talk about the game and I talk about, after, I just get, it's just emotional for me because I really love the game, bro. Like, obviously you do it for the money and things like that, but I love the game though. Like, I really was just a competitor and I just love to compete. That just was in my nature, bro. It was in my blood. And I got to do that in college. I got to do that in college. I got to compete with Monty Ball, Heisman finalists every day. I got to see how he worked. I got to feel like, I can surpass him and then go out there statistically and do it. I got to go up against a consistent James White. You know what I mean? Learn from him. I got to go out there and feel like I was the best player on the football team and go out there and challenge the SEC, who they thought the world of. And I got to put on for the fans that, in a state that I was born in. And that just meant everything to me, bro. It was more than money. It was just, I'm doing something bigger. I'm doing something bigger.
It's pure at that point, right? It's pure when you're in college, right? It's pure playing for a team in a state that you grew up in. It's pure coming to fill in the shoes of unbelievable running backs that had come before you. And then you get yourself in a position where you go play Nebraska, and probably going into that game when you have, plus 400 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, going into that week that you're going to have success, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be, and you don't know it's going to come that effortless in 3 quarters.
Nah, hell nah. I knew I was going to have a day. I had a couple mistakes at the beginning. I had 2 fumbles, but that shit didn't really bother me in college. I actually played better when I made mistakes in college. But that year, bro, I knew I was gonna have a game. That week I worked so hard. I remember having a bad game, and Amir Abdullah was obviously the running back, and I remember he was just a hot shot of running back, and they was just like, I remember a commentator saying, Melvin Gordon couldn't walk a mile in Amir Abdullah's shoes, and I was like, okay, that's a bet, bro. When I play them, I promise you, they gonna that week of practice. I'm like, bro, I'm going hard in the paint. And it just, now you don't expect it to be that type of day. You know what I'm saying? Like where you go for 400 yards, but damn, I expected some type of greatness out there that week, man. I worked hard for that. I worked hard that week, but I mean, it's still surreal, bro. I mean, just the fans chanting your name, the snow. It was just what a Wisconsin kid coming from there would dream about for a perfect game, dog.
Yeah, and you go through it too, right? You get to the 100-yard mark. You're like,
Yeah,
okay, Eaton. Then you get to the 200-yard mark, and then you get to the 3, and you're like, okay, maybe we can really, really do something
that's
different,
it.
you know?
The crazy thing was, bro, I wasn't even looking at the yardage. Like, it was such a tight game, bro. We needed the last 2 games. I really wanted to get in the playoffs. We ended up getting smoked by Ohio State, but I wanted to get in the playoff. I wanted to give us a shot. And the only way to get us a shot was to get to the Big Ten championship game. So that was my only motive. That was my only thought. And, it was a tight game. If you think about it, if you look all the way to halftime, it didn't really get taking the game didn't start really getting start separation. The separation didn't start till probably mid-third or something like that. But I remember just at the half, I remember going in, I looked at the scoreboard like everybody do. And I was like, damn, I got like 250 some yards. This shit kind of crazy. And I just locked back in. And that was it. That was just it, dog. Like it was just one of them days. Like I think that's where you play your best though. When you so locked in the moment, you ain't even worry about nothing. It's just I'm out here
Yeah.
trying to ball. That's it.
Yeah, in that game, 24-17 at half. Then you guys come out in the third quarter and just scored 28 and kind of put them in the dirt a little bit, which is, you
Right.
know, it's a game you remember every play of, right? It's a
Yeah.
game you remember every single piece and part of because what it meant. You guys only have 46 passing yards in that game from
That's
a
it,
passing
bruh.
perspective. So, you even look at the rushing stuff too. You guys still had what is this? 118 plus 50. You guys still had another fucking like 180 yards rushing as a team.
Bruh, it was ridiculous, dog. It was one of them days, dog. We just had their number, bruh. They just fell apart, and that's that Big Ten football we was talking about earlier, dog. I mean, we don't lose identity.
That season, you become the second leading all-time single-season rusher in
Yeah.
FBS history. 41 yards shy of Barry Sanders' record. Um, do any of those 41s or any holding calls or anything
Oh,
that
yeah.
got brought back? Or you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
damn.
Yeah, bro. You got at least like 200 yards that got called back. But, I mean, who's to say Barry didn't? You know what I mean? Like, who's to say if you add his bowl game that record probably it wouldn't even be close to 40 yards. It'd probably be at probably about 140, 160, 170. You know what I mean? Like, if they add their games, which I don't see why they don't. But so I mean, you could look at it from either perspective. You do look at like the holding calls and stuff. It was something that I definitely wanted. I wasn't thinking about it too much until it got to like the end. When you look up and be like, damn, so close. You know what I mean? But it's part of it. I still think that people kind of overlook that season. I don't get much respect for it. It is what it is. But for the people that are really college football fans and to the people of Wisconsin, that'll be something. A game, that Nebraska game, and just that season will be something they'll never forget.
Wisconsin has, 5 of the top 50 all-time leading rushers in college football history. No other school has more than 3. You have to take some pride in that stat and how much Wisconsin has gotten in the running game, in the running back room. Ron Dane, Jonathan Taylor, Monty Ball, talk a little bit about those guys that came before you and obviously upholding the legacy of what those guys did as well.
Yeah, just the guys that I could really speak on the most because I've seen them every day is James White. I think 3-4 time Super Bowl champion and Monty Ball. Those guys' work ethic. I think my whole time in college, James made one mistake. One. You know how hard that is? I I made at least like 20 or 30, my first week there. James never made a mistake. Talk about someone that was just consistent that you can rely on, a coach's favorite type of player. And then Monty Ball had the work ethic that I think nobody could ever match. And I kind of learned that from him. I mean, he was just such a dog. It didn't matter the circumstances. It didn't matter what. Monty just showed up each and every day, tired, 6 a.m., 2 p.m., whatever. He showed up and he was just the best. He was always the best player on the field, whether it was in practice or whether it was on the game. And I just took that, man. Those boys was just, they were dogs, man. And, hopefully, Monty especially, hopefully he can get his jersey retired one day, as well as, me, JT or something. You see the Shadur stuff, you like, bro, Wisconsin got to come through. So hopefully they figure that out with the AD. But, those guys are definitely like Hall of Famers in their own right. Especially Monty, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he was just great, and JT as well.
Yeah, if you look back at your year in college too, 14 had to be the year and what Mariota won.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if you go on Twitter, conversations always come up about, biggest Heisman stubs. Your name is usually in there. It's one of those things we talk about the record. If you end up having the single season rushing record, and I don't really ever play what ifs very much, but
Yeah.
that puts you in as great of a season as Mariota had to break a record that's lasted as long as Barry Sanders had. Really, probably makes that race a lot closer.
Yeah, it definitely do, bro. I think it was like something came out. I wasn't even like one of the top players in that era. Like, wasn't even the top 25 players in that era. I'm like, I seen that and I'm just like, bro, like, the shade is ridiculous, dog. Like, at that time to be the second most rushing yards in NCAA history, the most yards per carry, number one in NCAA history, like, and to get no love, I'm just like, maybe it's because I went to Wisconsin, you know what I mean? Or, it just is what it is, bro. I just been getting the short end of the stick for so long as far as this game I love. It's just another day to me.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, look, it's been hard for running backs to win a Heisman. It's
Yeah.
been years since it's happened. I know Genty last a couple years had a really good case for himself to
Mhm.
win it. He felt snubbed by it.
Yep.
It definitely does take you with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder as you go to the next level, I'm sure, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, when that's over, you always remember it. Obviously, like you said, you see your people in the grocery store. You see when you go back on campus, you always got the people that was there that just want to remind you about the glory days, because you know you made those days for them as well. You know what I'm saying? You made those days you glorified those days for them. You gave them something to watch, something to cheer about, something to dream, cheers they buddy with, turn up and have, you gave them people those moments. So, those were glory days, not only for us, but for them as well. You know what I'm saying? So, um, it just is what it is. But I think once you get to the league, bro, you understand it's just a whole different ball game. And, you know, it's just different, dog. It's a different mindset that you got to take. You're not really thinking about college and whatnot, but you just, the mindset of just want to be the best player you can be. That should never change, whether it's from high school, college, little league, or the league. That mindset should always be number one. So, in a sense, I guess it don't.
As your career goes on, right, you get with the Chargers, what a wild year for your former teammate, Phillip Rivers. He comes out of
Yeah.
retirement at 44 years old to start for the Colts, really had them in some positions to win some of those
Hmm.
games. What goes through your mind as you watch that and you see a real Unk come out and,
Yeah.
and go from being a coach to being back out there?
It's just, when I thought it was just another day for Phil. It's just another day. I mean, if you know Phil, Phil not gonna win you over with his legs. I mean, it's cerebral work. I mean, Phil is just, he's a mad genius back there. I mean, he's grown my game when I got there. He's grown my game so much. I was just so smart with concepts and different things like that. I was just so smart. Just being back there with him, because with quarterbacks like that, they change the protection calls and things just like that. It's within the seconds. You know what I'm saying? You got 3 seconds on the play clock and he switches the play call, and you got to know what you're doing. You got to know. So it forces you to learn the game to a higher level. And I used to just watch film sometimes, and he'll, out there correcting guys on telling them they running the wrong blitzes and they messing the defense up. Like, not everybody can do that. You realize that. So when Phil got that call, I was just like, man, I was hoping that he got them to the playoffs. They would have played the Chargers, and that just would have been good. That would have been just good network news for the world, man. That would have been dope. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it was, like I said, it's just another day for Phil, bro. I knew he could do it. That's what he do.
I'm looking at this right now. I forget your rookie year was 2015, right?
Yep.
We did play you guys. We came to Qualcomm, that old busted ass, janky
Yeah.
ass stadium you guys called
Yeah,
home.
it was
And we actually had a crazy game against you guys, 30-27. It's a little bit of a shootout that day.
yeah, we had everybody hurt on the front line, so shoot, as soon as I got the ball on outside zones, I had the nose guard in my lap. So it was a tough game, man. It's a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, Josh McCown, those for 356 in that game for us, keeps us in it. I remember being on the sideline watching that, but it's funny how eventually, our paths cross and that type of
Yeah,
stuff. But,
always.
that was a Phillip Rivers game. I always love watching Phillip play just because of how competitive he was, how crazy he was, the way he talked to people, but really, how great of a guy he was, and still
Yeah,
to be able to go out on the field and be a completely different type of person. Um, it had to be crazy for you being next to him, and you spoke about it a little bit, but, like, you look up, play clock's at 7, and, of course, you're looking for your keys on the defense, but you look up and you hear something, early on in your career, you're probably like, "Yo, did I hear that right?" And before you can
yeah.
even think about it, boom, ball
Boom,
snapped, and
ball snap. Gotta do it.
your protection could change. What you
Damn.
came into that play thinking that you're gonna
Mhm.
do is completely different based on a guy who's seen, so much in the NFL.
Yeah, man, yeah, I mean, that's exactly how it went. And, like we talk about where you come into college not thinking like it's that type of family and it's that type of feel. I can't say with the Chargers. That's why I loved it so much and never wanted to leave. It was guys like Phil, guys like Gates, guys like Melvin Ingram,
Keenan
Keenan Allen,
Allen.
you know what I'm saying? Those guys, Casey Hayward, it was guys that they brought in and guys that been there, stuck, Malcolm. It was guys like that it's just, bro, when you came in there, you felt like a family, bro. You felt like this was just it. It was the perfect spot, bro. It was the perfect spot for me. And like I said, bro, like being with those type of guys, bro, you not only you wanna learn because you wanna be great. You wanna be like those guys, dog. And like you said, bro, Phil switched the play up last second like that. I remember one time I got him blasted. Dog, I thought I was in my rookie year, I thought I was finna get cut. Like I thought I was finna get cut. And my coach, and he didn't give me the protection call though. Phil be back there sometimes in his element where he'll forget to, sometimes he'll be like, hey, swing, hey, 49, 59. Like he'll tell you. But he didn't give me the play call. He got so locked in. And I'm like, bro, you didn't give me the play call. And I was a rookie, so I was scared to like tell him, like, hey, bro, like, give me the play call. You feel me? And I got him killed, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to pack my bags, dog. It's over with. And then he was just like, hey, bro, like, if I don't tell you to call, scream at me
Yeah.
and remind me. Like, I got a lot going on back here. And I was just like, bet. And we was on the same page after that. I don't get a call, I'll be like, hey, Phil. He'll give it to me, run it. You know what I mean? My coach told me, he was like, hey, if you got 2 years to learn protection. If you don't learn it in 2 years, you're done here. I
Yep.
was like, damn, like that. I don't care that you're a first round. That's pretty much
Nah,
what he told me.
it's like that. It's like that.
It's
And
like that. People don't
it re
understand that at home, them conversations that you have. Not getting that protection right for this quarterback that's, you know what I'm saying, that we need. Your ass gonna be going home. I don't care what round you went. You don't
Yep.
protect this quarterback, you going home. And you got
I
2
mean
years to get it done, or we gonna find somebody to sit you on the bench
I mean,
forever.
you guys had some great people on that team, and you have Woodhead in that room with you.
Yep,
You look at Eric Weddle being just an absolute tank and a force. Um, Melvin Ingram, what a
yep.
beast.
And I'll tell you
You
about
got
Woodhead, dog. Woodhead, hey, bro, that's probably one of my favorite teammates. I called him probably about 2 months ago and just apologized to him because I almost fought his ass. I almost fought his ass one year. Now, my rookie year, I almost fought him. They cut one of my buddies. I was pissed off at the world. And just the stuff that Danny used to do from the camaraderie standpoint of how to bring the team together, you don't realize that until you get older. That was probably one of my best teammates, dog. Danny Woodhead need his flowers. He's the man, dog.
I agree.
My
Fun to
OG.
watch. Unbelievable freaking, versatile back that you had. There's another guy on that team that I played with at Texas A&M. Y'all's kicker during that time, Josh Lambo,
My
former
boy.
soccer player. Lambo is good people, bro. He came in my second year, really made some big kicks for us, and he's an awesome human being.
That my locker mate.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my locker mate. They always put me by the specialist, but Lambo's my boy, man. I love Lambo, man. He's a good dude. I don't think a lot of people understood him, but
Yeah, no,
Lambo was
different.
a good
He
dude.
was different, bro. He had never really
Different.
spent much time in a football locker room, and then
Yeah.
he, played 1, maybe 2 years at Texas A&M. he played 2013, 2014, then he probably was a rookie 2015 that year, which was your rookie year as well. But great dude. You know, what do you feel like is your best Phil talking shit story on the field?
Man, I can't even remember the exact words that Phil was saying, but I remember he was letting the play clock go down. He knew he wasn't gonna call nothing. And it was just like 5, 6 players. He just started, and you did this and that. And like, I mean, calling out each and every player. And like everybody like on the offense and the defense was just laughing. Like, bro, what is this dude talking about, dog? Like, I can't remember exactly what he was saying because he don't probably remember what he was saying. Phil used to just say anything without cursing, nothing. But he was just going through each and every one of their players, ripping them, telling them about this and what you don't do and how you this bad and how you bad at this and how you bad at that. And I'm talking about, that was my first time ever seeing like both sides, you know what I'm saying, laughing, offensive and defense. Like we was all just kind of laughing like, this dude here is straight out of comic book, dog.
You feel like he could be you know, an NFL head coach? You know, he interviewed with the Bills this year. You feel like that's something
Oh
that he
yeah.
could do? He obviously knows the game well enough.
Hell yeah, man. I think so. I mean, he's been doing it. I mean, I feel like quarterback coaches, like how he is, those type styles, they are head coaches in a sense. You know what I mean? They're telling the coaches what plays they like and making the audibles and doing all that. Like he's damn near offensive coordinator out there. You know what I mean? And obviously, you know, how he can, you know, when you're head coach, it's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. Let's not, you know, take what they do for granted. I mean, you have to oversee the defense, you have to oversee special teams and a lot of things that comes with the head coach. So we don't want to just discredit those guys and say anybody can do it. But um, you know, I think Phil obviously would be a head coach and I think he'd be calling the plays. And I think he can do it. Just like I said, him up here is just he was just different than anybody that I've ever been around. You know, from that standpoint. So I think he can do it, and I think he'll eventually get his opportunity.
I want to take a quick break from the show to talk to you about something that's become a staple in my day, Lucy nicotine pouches. I've tried a lot of pouches over the years, and Lucy is just on another level. My personal go-to right now is the Lucy Breakers, especially like everything in my life, the mint flavor. They've got this little flavor capsule inside. You pop it, it hits you with an instant burst, and it's really good. The flavor lasts long. It's not like other pouches that are gone in 5 minutes. It's clean, no tobacco, and the shape feels good. It doesn't sit weird in your lip. And if you want stronger options, which most of you guys do, Lucy pouches go all the way up to 12 milligrams. Honestly, once you try them, it's tough to go back or go to anything else. That's why Lucy is the official nicotine partner of Almost Friday. You can grab Lucy in stores nationwide or make it easy and get it delivered straight to your door. Lucy is the only pouch that delivers long-lasting, on-demand flavor. It's easy, guys. Find a store at lucy.co/stores or get it shipped with 20% off your first order at lucy.co/Johnny using code JOHNNY. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age and every customer is age verified. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, so make sure you guys are using in the right moderation. Check out lucy.co/Johnny for all of your pouch needs. Like yourself, golf is a huge part of my life. You know, you're trying to grow the sport in your own way. Yeah, your membership group, Vibez Golf Club. You know, if you're recruiting me to come join Vibez, you know, how are you pitching it and what has golf really meant to you for life after, you know, ball?
For you, it's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, obviously, you know, you got a flair. You know what I'm saying? You Johnny Football, bro. You're not, you know, I don't think you've ever tried to fit a mold of what anybody has done. And, you know, as far as how you play the game, how you know, what you do now, like, you're not trying to fit what everybody else do. You kind of, you know, I feel like you the type of person, always been from what I've seen, to kind of just be like, you know what, I'm going to take my own creativity and just kind of do my thing. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But, you know, this is who I am. You know, and that's what I would tell you. I wouldn't have to sell you much. I'd just be like, bro, just be you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of just what we bring into golf, bro. We trying to disrupt the game how we can. You know, golf is, and you've been playing it, it's been looked at and seen in such a way forever. You know, you have to play like this. You have to play, you know, uptight. You gotta, you know, you gotta do this. They kind of tell you from a manual how you supposed to play the game. And you know, that's just not how we see it, bro. We want guys and kids to be able to, you know, to pick up a club from, you know, different backgrounds. It's a status sport. It's a rich man sport. It's like, nah, bro, it's a sport. and you should be able to play it if that's what you want, and that's what we're trying to bring.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it got my competitive spirit, it got my competitive juices flowing again to be able to, realize that I can still go out and compete in different ways, at a sport that I'm, not gonna ever be as good as I was at football.
Right.
It's a constant challenge and a constant grind of a game to be able to put yourself in a position where you can play really well, right? And if you haven't played a ton or you started later in your life, golf is a frustrating game that also, humbles you a little bit. And
Is that frustrating to you, knowing that, you'll never be as good at that as you were in football? That shit frustrating
I
me.
think I think I look at it in a way, and you should as well, where you've done such amazing things on a football field to where it's gonna be very, very hard for me to put myself in a position to win the Heisman of golf. It's gonna be
Right.
very,
That's
very
fact.
hard for you to put yourself in a position on the golf course to win the Doak Walker of golf equivalent. So I think that's just a testament to what we've done on a football field that'll make it hard to do that. But also, like, I could go out here and practice every day from 8 a.m. in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, have my full day around golf, my full training around golf. And I know for a fact I would never get to a point where I could play on a PGA tour or, the height and ceiling of what my golf career is going to be playing in member guests with friends, maybe playing some tournament golf here and there, but I'm never going to go much further than that. And that's, I think, realistic view and mindset that I have on golf and what it is, because it's a sport where, you know, guys play from the time that they're in elementary, middle school, they play all the tournaments, they do everything, they go play college golf, and you can still not make it because guys are that much better than you just naturally?
My problem is I feel like I put in that work like that, I could be that. That's my problem.
I know we speak a lot on here when I talk to guys about how hard that transition was, right? Because it always gets to a point where your schedule goes from having a football schedule from 6 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and then it's gone one day. And you wake up past that normal 6 o'clock wake up call, and you wake up at maybe 10, and you're sitting there and you're like, what do I do with my day? I know for me, I spoke a lot about how tough it was, but for you, how was that process, and how was, coming to terms that, like, damn, I'm never maybe putting that jersey on again, or I'm never putting on that helmet. I'm never, running a downhill power again in my life.
It's sad, bro. It's I don't think you'll ever really come to terms with it. It's just me thinking about it. I just get to reflecting on fucking all the work that you put in. That shit just lot of hard days, cold days, just alone. You know what I mean? Because you just taught to be so macho and just to be able to deal with everything. And it's just like you go through that and you just like, bro, you just don't feel like no one understands. And you got some guys out there that do. People do talk about it. Your podcast, people talk about it, but it's just hard, bro. And I just feel like it is something that, for a little bit you gotta go through alone and you just gotta figure it out. But it's a dark space, dog. Like, like I said earlier, bro, I just remember sometimes sitting on the couch, I sat here a whole day and I just was looking. I didn't move, I didn't eat. And I just sat here, bro. I just sat here and I just looked out and I was just like, bro, like, it's hard to watch football. It's hard to, talk to guys that still are. Like, you just fucked up in the head. Like, it's just a dark place. And, you're just trying to re-identify yourself at age 30. You know what I mean? Especially when you don't feel like, the game, you left the game kind of left you or kind of got taken away from you. It wasn't your choice to leave. I think that'd be even harder to deal with. And you just so fucking quick tempered, with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like you just show your emotions are on edge and you lose some relationships because of it. And some people don't understand and some people stand beside you because they think they get it or they try to learn to get it. And it's just like it could screw your relationship up with your family. It could screw your relationship up with your girl. And it's just like, about time you kind of gather yourself back together. Some damage could be done to where, things can't get back. And now you worried about that. And it's just so much that go into it, man. But, it's sad talking about it, brother. But, it's life. You at some point you realize you got to move on and, take your work ethic that you had and put it towards something else.
Yeah, I think there's guys who can grasp that and can, like, look at it that way, and I think there's guys who really struggle with it even a lot more, especially guys who haven't necessarily thought that that day is ever gonna come. For some people, it happens, after their first training camp, because, everybody has that swag and the bravado of, I was
Mhm.
a really good college player, I'm gonna go make it to the NFL, like, no matter what, Imma make it, like, I'm
Yeah.
good enough to make it, and you go to that first training camp, and you may be right on the cut, bubble of a roster, and you don't make it. So then you're on practice squad. Then you're, packing up and bouncing around and moving to different hotels and trying to make it. And then, one day your phone just stops and you don't get any more interest. You don't get any more calls. And guys never thought about that day, right? You
Yeah.
look back and you're like, damn, I didn't try hard enough in school. What did
Yeah.
I get my degree in again? Like, what
Yeah.
was that? I think for now, for us, we have an obligation. Um, is at one point in time, being leaders of teams, being a guy that every single 90, 100 guys on that Wisconsin locker room or Texas A&M locker room looked at you as, a leader, as a guy who was in charge in a lot of ways. And I think, you know, for me, at least right now, I'm very much in a position where I have to check on the people that um, don't have the same luxuries and easy benefit of moving on and making money and doing things like a Vibes Golf Club, or for me, like Cactus Hat Golf, which I worked on when I got to Arizona. Like, you know, I made a lot of calls over the last month and checking on guys that I hadn't talked to in a couple years just to
Mhm.
see how you're doing, man. Life is tough as it is, and life is tough as a, former athlete where you walk to a grocery store, or you walk and you're in an airport or something, and somebody, remembers who you are, remembers the time, and it kind of gets brought up in your face. And
Mhm.
some people have it easier than others.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is, bro, and honestly, like, just like you said, bro, you calling and checking in on those people, like, Vibes Golf Club, it's 10 of us, bro. 9 of us all play college ball together. You know what I mean? So, I know exactly what you mean by that, just having to check on your brothers. And, that's why I want that to be, that's why I want so much success from that, because like you said, bro, some guys it's your first training camp, some guys it's in college. You get an injury and you don't make it past that, bro. Your dream cut short. And I've had that with one of my homeboys, a hard working guy, just never even got to play a college game, just tore his shoulder and just couldn't do nothing after that, dog. So, I try to look back at that when I'm feeling like I'm struggling because I had a lot of friends that did exactly what I did, put the same exact work in, and I made it a little further than they did and kept and got to continue with my dream. So, um, I just try to be positive. I try to find some light in the situation to keep me from being in the dark, brother.
I feel you, brother. And you watch a lot of golf right now? You ever turn on TV on a Sunday and watch a little bit
Yeah,
or
I'll be
anything?
watching the events, the tours. Yeah, I'll be watching. I don't watch much live, but obviously
Yeah, no, I watch
Bryson.
a lot more
Oh,
PGA. I think it's fun to, sit on a Sunday and watch these guys come through.
yeah,
So as we got the Masters coming up and stuff, obviously, your set of clubs, you look at your clubs now, you're kind of like, man, the technology in this stuff,
yeah.
how far these guys hit the ball. Well, in my office, bro, I got some old ass Ben Hogans or
Somebody
whatever
won a
these are.
somebody won a Masters with that right there, brother. That's
HL
crazy.
Sutton. All right. What do you think how much the game has changed for a wood shaft, these grips,
Stuff they
and
got
this
now.
little ass head? How do you feel you
That's
would go
crazy,
out go out and
bro.
actually hit this thing and use
Bro,
it?
man. Be a shit show out there. I go out there and use that. I can't even use the clubs good that they gave me now. I got the Cobra clubs now. I can't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard. It's hard to go out there and you know what I mean? I get a couple good shots, but with that, I ain't got nothing, brother.
I got no chance with these things, to be
No
honest. I think I
chance.
could get it in the air a little bit but just to think about how many guys throughout golf, back in the day when you started, this is what it was and what it's
And no
transitioned into
complaints either.
now.
Went out there and made it work.
Nah, you gotta, this is what you got. We ain't got technology
That's
coming out like
crazy.
this for another 40 years.
You
Well,
think they
we
use
got the
gloves,
mass
bro?
we
You think they use gloves?
probably like workers gloves and shit.
That's
The
crazy. They out
ball,
there.
I've seen balls that are obviously older and how much different they were and what it looks like and just It's crazy when you travel around and play some of these golf courses now and go to these places and stuff. It's amazing how far the game has come and how,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful and just awesome these places are. I know for me, a great thing to do, and you guys should do it with Vibes is, take all the boys in that, take a group of friends, 12 people and go to Pinehurst, go to Pebble
Oh,
Beach,
yeah.
go
Oh,
to,
yeah.
go to Arizona and play for 4 days and stay in a house. And like, it gives you that camaraderie that you're looking for, and
Oh,
it's so nice. And these places, if you do it right, it doesn't break the bank for everybody to go and do it.
oh, yeah. We got that. We got that. Hey, we got that all planned, brother. We working, man. Crazy creativity. That's all it's about.
It has to be, this is a game where you have to get creative in a space. Obviously, you're doing a lot of the social media stuff, but as you look around and you're on TikTok and you're on Instagram and stuff, the Bob Does Sports of the golf world, what Good does, like there's
Yeah.
a lot of money to be made in the space,
Yeah.
if you get your content to a creative level and a level that you know, is sometimes different than what everybody else is doing, even though there's so many people doing videos or this and that in the golf space. It is one that you can create a company now, make some money on it and have some creative content. So how's that, creative side for you been?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm the head of social, so I kind of I run that, and with Spider, my boy Hugs, he's kind of the head guy of productions and everything like that. But like I said, bro, I've always been a creative guy. I've always, loved the format of making videos that hit a little different. And everybody is doing the video thing now. Everybody has caught stride. Everybody wants to put on something that's dope, but is it authentic? No, what it boils down to. Is it authentic, or are you just doing it? Are you just doing it for a payday? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's a lot of acting going on, and I don't say from who. I don't really put too much mind into it. But those are just been conversations I've had with different people going into these different spaces. So I don't look at anybody's stuff and be like, "Are you pretending or not?" You kind of just do what you do. I don't put too much focus on what anybody got going on. But obviously the goal for us is just go out there and just be who we are. I feel like, just us. We are already culturally just different. What we bring to the game is already different. So at that point, it's just you being who you are on camera. And obviously that's just gonna hit home with a lot of different people. So, we don't really put too much thought into you know, how to be different, honestly. We just kind of just put thought into, just how you want it shot at this point. Like, just and just putting something down that, showing something that just the world haven't seen or may want to see, that they haven't seen from the golf space. And it's not like it's you back there with the football or me back there hurling a guy or one hand in, or you can't do that in golf. So, you have to be creative. And it is, as a person that, likes to be creative, it's a challenge, which I do love. So you have to find different ways to just kind of express your love for the game. And we've done a good way with good deal, and we've been pretty good in that area. But it's dope to see how the game in general has just changed, just from culturally and just from just a media standpoint.
Yeah, so as I'm looking here right now, obviously for everybody listening, watching, you can go to Vibes Golf Club. Just typed it in on Google. They got a shop. Obviously, you can see the hat he's wearing right now. Got some
Yeah,
hoodies, got a bucket on here, got some other stuff. So for everybody listening, wanting to go and support, just type in Vibes. You can hop on there, view all their merch, view all their stuff,
yeah,
what they're about, see the whole crew. And it's something that he's obviously working on, growing, and having a good time with. To stay in the golf space for one more question, we all saw the news about Tiger on Friday. I know for me,
yeah.
I was texting people, some of my boys who are around him. I'm like, man, I swear to God, I'll pitch in on a Tiger Woods to get a driver fund.
Get bro the driver, a billionaire. I wouldn't even think about driving ever.
Yeah, no, I went a couple months throughout the summer where I was on tour and, hanging around Drake and hanging around some different people or, my work situations. I don't think I got behind the wheel of a car for like 3 or 4 months, to be
Yes, I
honest. And I was like, you
did.
know
Yeah.
what? I can kind of get used to this,
Fact.
and It's
I
it's
did.
tough it's tough to see. I think, initially people wanna make jokes about it and laugh, and I think
Yeah.
it's just getting to a point where it's a little bit more serious now, right? Like, this has
Yeah.
happened a lot in the past. He's got kids,
Yeah.
he's got a lot on his plate to try and come back, work through injury, deal with a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself, take
Mhm.
care of your mental, and put yourself in, you know, better positions. I think everybody wants the best for, you know, a golfer that has changed a lot of the ways that we view golf. A huge reason of why I love the game the way that I do, because I got to watch the Tiger era and how great he was in so many ways. So I think, you know, for now, the way I look at it, just praying that he can figure some things out. And obviously, you know, you want to be he's done so much to be successful on a golf course. That doesn't need to change. There doesn't need to be any more added to the resume. But about being the best person you can be, and doing things the right way is, you know, something I think we can all hope for him, moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, bro, that's Tiger, and we can't. My thing is when things like that happen, um, we all know it's not right, right? I mean, the drinking and driving. I mean, we understand you putting someone's life at risk. I mean, it's millions of people that have lost their kids, their fathers, their mothers, different family members due to such activities, and he shouldn't get a bye because he's Tiger Woods. So we do understand that, but is anybody asking you know what he's dealing with mentally? You know what I'm saying? That to feel like he has to is drinking and driving away from him to feel normal. You know what I mean? Getting put on a pedestal. What's the pressure that he's dealing with that every day? That I've seen him walk around. It's ridiculous. It's how he gets put on this pedestal and just, does drinking make him feel like he's normal? I don't know. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's some questions that, someone should ask outside of him just telling you because he's a competitor and, he'll probably give you the cliche answer, I'm good. I'm just having a time or whatever. But, just really, I just want to know what he's dealing with, if he's dealing with anything or, maybe he could just be just making a mistake. Unfortunately though, I hate to see that for anybody, especially a guy that's of such high stature and just a role model to a lot of people out here. But, I wish the best for Tiger. I wish he stays healthy. He's also doing a lot of great things out here for the sport, for himself, for different people, So, whatever that is, that mental block that he has to get over, there's no judging him. You know what I mean? He's a human like anybody else. It's just happened that to be one of the greatest golfers ever. So, I'm not here to judge him. I just hope he finds the people he needs to find to kind of help prevent these mistakes, and starting with getting the driver. So,
Yeah, it's golf second. It's about the person first, and I
yeah.
think, you know, everybody on our team, everybody here wishes Tiger nothing but the best. I mean, you want to see people do well in life and try and fix the problems that they have. I know it's been a constant work for me to try and fix the problems I've had in my life
Right.
and turn the page and move on. So it's time for our question of the week presented by PrizePicks. Use code Johnny, play $5, get $50 in lineups. And, you know, in every episode, I ask our guests, you know, at the end of the interview, the same question. You know, you spoke about the word earlier, but, you know, if you had to choose one word to define your glory days throughout your career, you know, what's that one word for you, and what the game of football kind of meant to you, and what your glory days, you know, mean to you now as an older, you know, person in life looking back?
One word I would use was just adversity. That's what I would use because I had to overcome it. I had to overcome adversity. I had to overcome not scoring, getting drafted with Todd Gurley first round. I had to overcome watching Todd have a rookie MVP season as a running back and me not scoring touchdowns and having to come back my next year and go Pro Bowl. Getting injured, having microfracture surgery. They told me I had a 50% chance of coming back. It's just adversity. I had to deal with so much, just the fumbles and just the mentality with that and feeling like you have to come back and really putting your best foot forward. The contract situation, that was another thing of adversity. Having to go out there to Denver, even though I knew I was hated from both sides. A team that I loved and never wanted to leave, and going to a team where I have new teammates, and it was adversity then. During the COVID, we had to do that. My first year there was during COVID. That was adversity. So my whole career, football, Monty Ball being there, adversity. My whole career, everything was just adversity, man. And it's glory days, bro. It's at the end of the day, no matter how hard it was, bro, it's something that I can always look back and be proud on and proud about. I get sad with the way it ended. It didn't end. I didn't have that beautiful Cinderella story like Tom Brady or Ray Lewis or Peyton Manning. Not every guy gets that. But at the end of the day, I did something special that most people could never have done in their life. And I have to hang my hat on that, bro. And it's sad sometimes that it's gone, but you know, you just have to realize that, you know, I've made my mark in history, whether it was at Wisconsin or whether it was in the league. I inspired some kids somewhere, and that's more than anybody can say.
Of course. And I guess my words and my thoughts on it is never forget that, brother. Never forget what you did. Never forget the amount of people that you made feel special and gave joy to in your life from what you were able to do, being as athletically gifted as you are. Never forget the mark that you left on college football. It's very easy as decades pass and years pass, and moving forward, only more time will pass between that last snap that you took as Wisconsin and the players that come after you. But never forget, what you did, the mark and legacy that you left in your own right is one that, I know for me when I went to Cleveland and I was in my stage of depression and I was through my tough times of life, my life went from watching a lot more being from the South to going to Cleveland and seeing a lot more Big Ten football, a lot more Wisconsin games being on. And, to watch you play, watch that season that you had as me being a rookie in the NFL and having a lot of free time on my hands because I'm not playing a lot.
Yeah.
You did that and you left the mark and the legacy that will take a lot for somebody to come in and ever overshadow that. You did that. You should, hold your head proud in everything that you've done. I've always been a fan. I know life is not always easy and life gets really tough, but at the end of the day, that's for each and every one of us. And for me, you always got a brother in me, my guy. I know, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to tee it with you, play some golf, get this Vibes Golf Club stuff going. And, anything in life moving forward, you ever need something from me, I'm here and just one call away. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on to share some good stories, to have some fun, share some laughs, and look back at, what made us who we are today,
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you for having me on, brother. That means a lot. You saying them words too. Johnny Football, man. Want to know.
Oh, man.
Appreciate that.
Bro.
Wisconsin,
Well, much
too.
love, bro. This is Glory Daze with my guy, Melvin Gordon. Appreciate everybody who listens, who tunes in. Check out Vibes Golf Club. You guys have yourselves a day. The weather's getting better. Go play some golf. Go have some fun. And appreciate everybody who watches out. This is Glory Daze. Peace.